technologists, we all share a few common goals. And one of those goals is to build high-quality products that truly meet the needs of our users. But I'd like to start today by posing a question for all of you. You don't need to actually answer the question, but I'm inviting you just to reflect on this question for a minute or so. How do you define product quality? What are the common factors that you consider when you're trying to determine, when you're building your own products, whether you're meeting a high quality bar or not? So when it comes to product quality, there tends to be a few common factors that people come to again and again. So things like usability, performance, reliability, craftsmanship, and security. Now, there are many other factors beyond these 5 that contribute to product quality. But today, we're going to be talking about one often overlooked factor that can play a really big role in ensuring that when we're building products, we're doing so in a way that's taking our product quality from good to great. And that's inclusivity. So inclusivity is all about making users feel seen, making users feel heard and valued, and like they can truly and fully and safely participate in our product experiences. And in this respect, it is a secret sauce to ensuring that when we're building products, we're doing so in a way that our products are going to resonate with users from all walks of life and regions. And there are a few key things that inclusivity can help us do. So first, it can help us build trust with more people. And this is particularly useful when we're trying to ensure better retention, as well as to have stronger top-line metrics over time. It's also really key for making sure that we are promoting thoughtful and responsible design, which benefits people as well as society more generally. And it also ensures that when we're building our products, we're doing so in a way that is in compliance with various requirements. So, for example, accessibility requirements or fairness and inclusion related principles. So if you look here, you're like, inclusivity is doing a lot. Why are people not talking about it when we're talking about product quality? And one of the reasons is that making products more inclusive can actually be kind of tricky. There are many things that can make a user feel seen and like they are truly valued in a space, but also many things that can make them feel excluded and like they aren't meant to be in a space. And this can make it kind of challenging for trying to do things like measuring and assessing the inclusivity of a product experience. It also can then in turn make people view things like inclusivity feel more like a nice to have rather than like an essential product quality factor to consider. But at Meta, we care a lot about inclusivity as a product quality factor. And it informs how we build our products. So when we're looking to things like our company-wide principles, serve everyone. And also, when you look to things like our responsible innovation principles, consider everyone. And it also shapes how we work. So as a research director that is supporting product quality efforts within our social issues research team, as well as across the company, I dedicate my time to developing, iterating on, and testing tactical ways to assess, measure, and build more inclusive product experiences and more accessible product experiences that resonate with our diverse user base. So for the past 4 years, I've had the unique privilege of working alongside of my team, as well as our core partner teams across the company, like the Reality Labs Trust, Equity, and Accessibility team, in working out ways that we could develop innovative approaches to support technologists like you in adding the secret sauce to your product development process. And of course, what we're working with here at a large well-resourced company like Meta might not necessarily work for everyone. So today, my colleagues Becca, Alan, and myself are going to be sharing with you a few tips that anyone can make or can use to make their products more inclusive. So regardless of what your budget is, regardless of your staffing, regardless of what your timelines are. So now that I shared what the secret sauce is, and it's not a secret anymore, it's inclusivity, let me tell you a little bit more about how it is that you can make your products more inclusive. And the first thing that you can do is by asking questions. So when we're asking questions from the very start of our product development process, we're able to more quickly identify nuances in users' needs and users' expectations and their experiences with our product experiences. We're also able to identify ways that we can more proactively make our products feel more inclusive for a wider range of people. Now, when I say asking questions, it starts with you. So first, take a step back and ask yourself some questions. I want you to think about your own identities. So there are many ways in which we identify in the world, and how it is that your identities might be impacting how it is that you see the world as well. This can help you identify any biases that you might be holding, whether conscious or unconscious. For example, you can consider who it is that you're including in your testing of your product experiences. Are you making sure that you have a diverse set of users in that user segment? And how might your identities be affecting how comfortable those users that you're bringing in feel to even share how they really feel about your product? So we created this wheel here to help you identify how it is that you could reflect on those various aspects of your identity. And so by asking how your various identities, your various experiences that you've had, various perspectives, how that all might be impacting how you think about everything from your product space to your potential audiences. So first, asking yourself again, how do I identify? And how might my identities be creating opportunities for me? So for example, how might my identities show up as assets with ensuring that I have a deeper understanding of particular communities that are well suited for this product? But also, how might my identities be showing up as blind spots or creating blind spots and blocking my opportunity to understand how even more users might benefit from my product? This is a really critical first step, asking questions of yourself, because it can play a really key role in identifying some unconscious biases or blind spots that we might be holding, and that might be limiting our understanding of how we can make sure that our products are really serving a wider set of users. A second way that you can boost the inclusivity in your product quality is by asking people from all walks of life questions about your product. So it comes as no surprise that the communities that we're building our products with, they're very much shaping what our ultimate product is in the end. The flip side of this, though, is that the communities who are not a part of that process can in turn feel like they're excluded from the product experience in some ways. So, and this tends to affect certain communities more than others. So individuals of different ability levels, be them physical or visual, individuals who might identify along certain identity characteristics, be their racial, ethnic, or background, or various gender identities, as well as individuals with varying reading or digital literacy levels, as well as people from distinct regions and cultures in the world. And to serve as many communities as possible, it's really important for us to ensure that we are including these communities in our perspective when we are developing our product experiences. So these communities might have historically been underserved in tech spaces, but they're very much a part of the mainstream today. So when you're doing something like creating a new product plan, or even looking to all of the rich insights that you have gathered on your product to date, ask yourself questions like, who is actually included here? And who is represented here? And who is missing? Asking simple questions like this can help you spot which audiences you might have been prioritizing in your product development process so far, but also which audiences you might not have, and you can prioritize in future testing. You can also ask individuals from these historically underserved communities questions themselves after they've had the opportunity to test out your product experience. So questions like their perceived benefits. So does this product benefit or meet the needs of communities that they identify with? Questions related to things like voice and tone. So does the product's language, does the tone, does it feel inclusive? Does it feel respectful of communities that I identify with? Questions related to visual representation. So does the product's visual experience, does it feel authentic? Does it feel representative? As well as questions related to things like access and reach. So is the product accessible to and safe to various communities? So these are just a few questions that our team has worked with that are based on extensive internal and external research that we've done on what it actually takes to make a product feel inclusive and more accessible to users from all walks of life. And they actually are questions that Meta's Inclusive Product Council, which is an internal group of volunteers who identify as members of various historically underserved communities, use to provide product teams all across the company early feedback on how inclusive a product might feel for users from various communities. So ideally, you could ask questions like these, from people from different communities to get some signal on how inclusive your product might be feeling for users from various walks of life. The reality, though, is that you might not be able to have that direct contact to do so. So in the event that you can't, I'm going to pass it on now to Alan, who is going to share some tips on what you can do next.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Alan. I am a content producer at Meta. I focus on third-party VR games production. My job is to make sure games are delivered on time, on budget, to the best quality that they can be, as well as playable by the largest audience possible. Essentially, I just basically get paid to worry. So Camilla just covered a second way that you can use questions to elevate the quality of your product by asking people from all walks of life questions about your product. If you don't have access or connections to individuals from these various and often overlooked communities, you can try to think about asking these questions during your product tests, your play tests, or your dog fooding sessions. They can help you identify hypotheses of ways to make your games or products feel more inclusive, and then you can later test these hypotheses with your play test sessions with the variety of users afterwards. You can also get insight into how these historically underserved communities experience our products and which common design elements or factors contribute to their feeling of their sense of inclusion or exclusion through referencing our existing guidelines designed to help you build with inclusion in mind. For example, the accessibility reality checks, or our VRCs, which provide guidelines on captions and subtitles and in-game direction and feedback. We also have our new human interface guidelines, which are our first ever set of accessibility design guidelines for immersive experiences that provide the best practices and principles for the unique considerations of spatial design. No More Rainbows shows how effectively asking questions of yourself and your product can be for identifying ways that you can make your product feel more inclusive and also more welcoming to various communities. No More Rainbows is a VR platformer where players wheel their arms around to move through a colorful and imaginative world. And it contains many different VRCs. For example, No More Rainbows is playable without any audio. There's no voiceovers in the game. The entire game was designed to be playable without voices. All the tutorials, the storylines, the entire narrative is done through video with localized text for users. Its mechanics were also sought out to support as many cues as possible: visual, haptic, and audio. An example of this is the arm-based locomotion. When you swing your arms around to move, you'll feel haptic feedback as well as audio feedback. Both the sound and vibrations will change based on the terrain that you move through, how fast you're swinging your arms, and there's also visual feedback in the game as well. These multi-sensory cues open up the experience to a variety of users who are often overlooked, like the blind and low vision communities. And finally, with the ability to custom map the controllers, No More Rainbows is also playable with only one hand, which makes the experience much more inclusive for people who have limited physical dexterity. No More Rainbows prioritized inclusivity in the product by asking questions with a diverse set of user cohorts in mind. As Squiddo Games, the studio, put it, No More Rainbows wasn't just about building something for ourselves. We consistently asked ourselves, how can we make it easier for people to get into VR? By asking these questions, they opened up their experience to more audiences. All right, so after you ask these questions of yourself and to people from all walks of life about your product, how else can you assess the inclusivity of your product? Another great way to evaluate product inclusivity is by looking at public reviews and community groups in your product space. Public reviews and community groups can offer insights onto how different communities perceive or experience your product at a really low cost. And you can learn so much about where your products are excelling or failing to make users feel seen or heard and what people have to say. For example, you might find out about how easy or challenging it is for certain communities to be able to customize their characters to look like them, or how unsafe community members feel when they try to navigate a multiplayer world. You can also learn from reviews and groups discussing other companies' successes and failures at creating inclusive games, and learn lessons from that. And while reviews and community groups can be a great resource for finding examples of effective inclusive product features, it's also important that we should be cautious about reading the reviews. Public reviews and posts often lack context, which makes it difficult to understand the perspective of the users who wrote them. We don't understand necessarily why certain features made people feel welcome or more inclusive. We also don't know the context in which the people wrote their reviews. We recommend that you should use these reviews to help inform future product testing, and also in conjunction with other different inclusive design and research methods. You can also connect with individuals from different identity-based community groups directly to help mitigate this, and they can help you provide access deeper insights into what different communities value in products. And then you can include that information to future playtest rounds. So here are some other ways you can gather signal on what people are talking about in your product. You can check out reviews like reviews in the MetaQuest store and other websites where users from all walks of life are sharing their experiences in VR. You can look at posts from identity-based gaming communities on social platforms to see which games resonate with their members and why. And then you can also attend public events and meetups where you can connect directly with the community and ask them questions. Tiger Blade from French developer Ikimasho is an example of a game with glowing reviews demonstrating it's excellent at making users feel seen. Ikimasho gathered extensive feedback on how to make its visual representation of Asian culture presented in the game more authentic, focusing on South Korea as its setting, and consulting and responding to feedback from the Korean Film Commission, as well as the Seoul Film Commission, and also local community members in Seoul who helped them find real-life inspiration for their game. Their revision of the character designs from more Eastern Asian generic characters to more South Korean was well recognized and received in many positive reviews. So we've reflected on our own identity. We've gathered perspective from other communities. I want to pass it over to Becca to talk about how to use all these insights to further test inclusivity and explore the space.
Oh. Hey, folks. Along with my team, we work with teams all across the company to increase the inclusivity and the accessibility of our products. So with all of that, our specific goal is to just foster the integration of voices that are commonly just not heard into the way that we build and into even what we build so that we can make our products better for everyone. So I know it's been a long day out there and we're getting to the second day of the conference, but we've gone over 2 things already of ways that you can start to increase the inclusivity of your products. And the first one is to ask those questions. So you're thinking about yourself, you're reflecting, and then also with other folks. And then you're also looking to spaces like forums and reviews to see what communities are talking about when your product's already out there. And the third thing that we'll be doing and going over today, which I'll be talking about, is looking towards the future and using a little bit of imagination. So imagine what a headline celebrating your product's success in inclusivity would say. An exercise like this or something similar is a really great way to create a very tactical map of different steps that you can take to make your product more inclusive and really stand out amongst everything else that's in the market. And especially with inclusivity related regulations like the upcoming Accessibility Acts, it's going to be super important. Like the way that you're making people feel seen and heard, whether that's with the UI or if that's in the back end, all of that is arguably going to grow in importance in the coming months or years and all of that stuff. So with me, I want you to imagine that it's 5 years from now and your product's in the market and you are just getting this amazing, resounding success. And people from all around the world are just flocking to use your product and they're talking about how it makes them feel seen and feel heard. And everyone's loving it. So I want you to start thinking about what you want people to be talking about, like specifically, and what you're creating. Like, if it's going on in the news or in social spaces or different forums, like what would they say about your product or even your approach to building your product that is really showing that you are super dedicated to building inclusively? Think about just even what specific features make it so undeniably clear to folks, like even folks who have no idea about inclusive design, that what you're building is for a larger community. So with those things in mind, sit down, draft a headline, sketch out a newspaper article, and really just start to unpack those questions. So think about exactly what within your product has made all of this dedication clear, and just try and dig as deep as you can. Just look to the future and create that space. And after you've done that, get together with your team and start to share your headlines and your articles and start to figure out what themes are emerging between all the different drafts. And from there, just really try to create a work back plan on what this might mean for what you work on right now, like what you're prioritizing or even how you're working. And going through this exercise could do like a bunch of different things, but one thing you might be inspired to do is to start to test out new features. We're all here, I'm sure that we've all created like a digital avatar or some online character, and this exercise might inspire you to do something like trying out sliders instead of a set fixed options when it comes to creating those. And you might start to think about that even using sliders could actually maximize the choices that users have when creating their own digital avatars without unintentionally just leaving out certain character and identity characteristics. That could be super important for different groups. You could also just be inspired just to test out new ways of building. For example, building products with different audiences instead of just for them. And internally and externally, we refer to this build with methodology as co-design. And what co-design is a participatory approach where we gather folks from different community segments and especially those who are commonly overlooked, and they're really brought into the space and treated as equal collaborators. And it really shifts the focus of what we're kind of doing day to day from users as subjects to users as partners, and encourages folks to really directly collaborate with the people they're building the product for, instead of just listening, asking questions, and getting feedback from folks after a product has already been shipped. Co-design is not new. It has existed both internally here and externally, but over the last few years, my team has had the amazing privilege to pilot what taking an inclusive approach to co-design might look like at a large-scale tech company. So just thinking about how you might intentionally prioritize the involvement of diverse and often overlooked communities into our product development process. And in doing so, redistributing power and creating a more inclusive experience that can resonate with folks from all different walks of life around the globe. And co-design can take many forms. So there's not like one set try and true method. It can be everything from short remote sessions that can last a couple hours to multi-day in-person workshops that Camille and I just ran actually over here today from, or it can even be long-term partnerships. And what form works best for you is going to really be determined by the time that you have, your product need, and different resources. But despite the method, what's going to be really key to co-designing effectively is to establish trust and really build a shared understanding of the problem you're trying to solve together. So how do you do that? I don't know. 4 tips for really establishing that trust is to first build just shared knowledge. And you do this with, this part is just especially important when you're looking to communities who are often overlooked in tech spaces and inviting them to even just feel comfortable collaborating with you. Next, you want to focus on understanding the user needs and communicating your constraints. So listen to and observe the user needs and pain points. Invite them to test out your product or something similar if yours is not out yet. And really just start to invite them to identify areas for improvement. And then collaboratively brainstorm. So brainstorm first, just a set of product principles or even just the criteria for how you're going to judge some of the ideas and solutions. And then after that, you can start to generate ideas and solutions based off of those just set shared values, inclusive of the needs of a diverse set of communities. And for this part, is definitely just throwing all the spaghetti at the wall. You're focusing on volume and you're not focusing on perfection. So no idea here is a bad idea. And then finally, what you're going to be doing is you're going to actually, with the folks in the room, you're going to prototype, you're going to test, and you're going to iterate. And this is like the super fun, the super messy and crazy part that is oftenly associated with co-design because you'll be able to come into a space and actually build a product for a community with the community. Vegas Infinite is a game with headline-worthy inclusivity features. It is a VR world of entertainment with no limits, where friends can hang out and play a variety of Vegas-themed games. And their work on Avatar and identity feature selectors really provide users a greater range and choice in personal expression. And it really serves as a really fantastic example of how you can creatively make your products more inclusive in a way that just makes sense for your product. So for instance, Vegas Infinite lets players choose from a wide range of avatar options and customization features. So this means that someone can actually just create an avatar that represents who they are and helps them to express themselves in a way that just feels both fun but also authentic. The Director of Customer Success emphasized that these features are all part of a very deliberate strategy to create a high-quality product using inclusivity. So he says, our goal is to take a holistic approach to inclusivity, bringing together a diverse set of features with an ever-changing library of new gear. As the adage goes, look good, feel good, play good. So inclusivity is just as important of a factor of product quality as all the other things, as reliability, as usability, as polish. And this often overlooked factor is really something that can take your product from being good to really, really being great. And it does that because it's not going to make folks do extra work. It's going to meet users where they are. It's going to make people feel like they belong. And it's going to provide a space where everyone can just show up as they are. So again, how you're going to do all this is that you're going to be reflective, ask questions, be very realistic of like who you are, where you're, like what do you know and what do you not know. Second, looking at what folks are saying and inviting folks to come into a space and give that feedback. And then third, imagining what the potential is in the future of your product. So imagining that headline and working back to see how you can actually get to that feature and get to a place and figuring out who you can build your product for now to make it better for people from all walks of life tomorrow. So why is it the secret sauce that's not secret anymore? It's because it builds trust with more users. It promotes thoughtful and responsible design for people and society. And from a business perspective, because that's always important too, and just being good, it ensures compliance with a bunch of different requirements like accessibility standards, fairness, and inclusion principles. So our goal today was really to share with everyone how any developer can really model what we do in how you can start to intentionally assess how to make your products more inclusive, regardless of the budget, of the staffing, of the timelines that everyone's working with. And teams across Meta, we have focused on inclusivity, have made really great progress, but we are still so early in that journey. And we are committed to helping developers like you just really adopt this dimension of product quality. So please join us and let us just learn together as we try to create a more inclusive future. And remember that you don't have to do this alone. We're not going to abandon after this, but we do have the human interface guidelines, which are our first ever set of accessibility design guidelines for immersive experiences. And more sections to this will be coming up, including screen reader specifications, alternative inputs, and learning aids. And also check out the Inclusive Avatar Asset Guide, which was developed in collaboration with the University of California, Berkeley's Center for Equity, Gender, and Leadership.